Today we will be explaining to you how you can get on the Chinese internet.
Yeah, it's very important for a businessman to know how to get online in China. So, Ed, do you use your own phone?
No, I wouldn't advise that. You can use your own phone, and some business people will actually use their own phones, but it's going to be extremely expensive because you will be using your subscription to your local carrier at home, and you'll be paying international fees for calls, but especially for mobile data, which is going to be extremely expensive.
Yeah, so Wi-Fi?
You can use Wi-Fi, and China has quite a few places where you can get on the Wi-Fi, but there's always the question, how safe is a certain Wi-Fi hotspot? And especially if you go on the Wi-Fi in hotels, it can be very slow, and sometimes in certain hotels you cannot get on the Wi-Fi without first entering your Chinese ID card number on a website that will appear if you're trying to make a connection. And of course you don't have a Chinese ID card. So Wi-Fi sometimes works, sometimes, depending on where you stay, can be a bit problematic.
Yeah, so you travel a lot to China for your China study tours. So how do you arrange?
Well, yeah, the best thing to do is to get yourself a local Chinese SIM card. And there's different things that you can do. You can, of course, go to any shop of a telecom company or a phone company in China, in a city or in a town. But you will find out that this is not the easiest solution because they might not speak English very well. They will ask you again for an ID number because every telephone SIM card and every telephone number in China is linked to a specific person's ID. It's what they call real name registration. And you can get a SIM card with a passport, but in such a local shop they might not really know how to do that. If you can get such a SIM card, and I have one, then you will pay a monthly fee for that SIM card. But that's also maybe going to be a problem for a foreigner because foreigners normally don't have any bank account in China. So how are you going to pay for the monthly fee? So it's not the easiest solution of getting a SIM card.
No, so what is the easiest solution?
The easiest solution, and that's what we normally advise people to do, is to actually, when you arrive at the airport, especially big airports like Beijing or Shanghai, they will have a specific stand in the arrivals hall of one or more telecom companies where you can get a SIM card bundle. And then you can buy a Chinese SIM card with a package of a certain number of telephone minutes, but you're probably not most interested in that, but also a certain bundle for your data.
Okay.
And yeah, basically, if you pay something like 200, 300 RMB, so maybe like $30, 25 euros, then you can get a package that will get you through your business trip. Only if you actually go to China very frequently would we advise to look into getting somebody's help to get like a local SIM card that you can use multiple times.
Okay, so you got a SIM card. So how do you use this SIM card? Just put it in your regular phone?
You can do that, but most people have a telephone with only one SIM card slot. And if you use your regular phone, that would mean that you have to take your SIM card from home out and nobody can reach you in China. So if that's not a problem for you and if you don't expect any emergency calls, I mean, you never know, then that could be a solution. Another solution would be to just leave your regular SIM card in your regular phone and maybe use a separate phone for China. But the best solution, and that's the one I'm always using, is to use a phone that has a dual SIM slot where you can put in two different SIM cards. So you can always leave your SIM card from home inside your telephone and you can put the extra SIM card for China in. The only thing that you have to take into account is that you need to shut off the mobile data access on your local SIM card from home and you turn it on for the Chinese SIM card. Otherwise you will still be spending a lot of money by using data from your local provider from home.
Okay, so you saved them a big bill. And then now I have data on my mobile phone, but if I need to use my computer or other devices, is also another solution?
Well, you can get separate SIM cards for your other devices, but what I advise people to do is to simply turn on the hotspot in your telephone, now that your telephone is working on the Chinese internet, and then share the mobile data access through the hotspot, and then you can also use it on your tablet and on your PC.
Okay. So I've heard that in China, maybe you cannot get access to Facebook or YouTube. So could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem, because when you get on the Chinese internet, you will be faced with the problem of what they call the Great Firewall of China. And the Great Firewall of China, without going into too much detail, is a system that basically blocks access to certain parts of the international internet. So you cannot, for instance, get on certain American news or newspaper websites because they write about a lot of sensitive stuff about China. You cannot go on social media. Why not? Because the Chinese government cannot control what appears on foreign social media, so that's why they're all blocked. And you also cannot go on certain Google services, like Gmail might not work or your Google Drive might not work. So you will have to deal with that problem.
Yeah, so how do you deal with this problem?
Well, the good news is that there is a relatively easy way to deal with the Great Firewall, and that's called a VPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And a VPN is basically a software tool that makes it look like you're not in China. So if you go on the Chinese internet, then basically it looks like you're somewhere else in the world, and you're, well, as they say, you're jumping over the Great Firewall, and you can access all of these websites that are normally blocked. So some examples of VPNs are, for instance, Estrel and ExpressVPN, which are used quite a lot in China. We do advise you to use a well-known VPN system, not some shady thing that might be free. A lot of the free services are actually not very trustworthy, and some of the free VPN services that are offered online are actually Chinese companies, so you might be getting yourself into a whole kind of different trouble if you do that. And the costs are really not so high for the examples that I mentioned, because it's only maybe like $10 per month, so which should be more than enough for a regular business trip. Also, if you really frequently go to China, you might consider to get an annual subscription, and with an annual subscription you pay a much lower, maybe $8 per month, and you can also, if you want to use it for other purposes, use your VPN outside China, of course.
Yeah.
So
you said the cost is not too much. So if I use one for my phone, do I need another for my iPad or computer?
No. The good thing is that most of these paid VPN services, they allow you to use it across different devices. So you can use the same account on your mobile phone, on your tablet, on your laptop. Maybe not all at the same time. So it could be that if you log into one device, the other device logs out. But you can use one and the same device. But what is very important is to install it before you go to China. So make sure that you have a VPN and you have the software installed on your devices that you're going to use, because once you're in China, of course, the website where you can download and get a VPN service are all blocked in China. So make sure you do that before you leave. Now, that was the good news. There's also some bad news we have to share with you, and it's sometimes these VPNs do not work. The Chinese government is getting more and more smart about how to block VPNs, and if they really want to, they can make sure that you cannot use your VPN. Now, this happened to me in October 2019 during the festivities for the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. And what happened is that basically my VPN didn't work for a week. So that's why it can maybe be smart to get a second VPN, although you don't have any guarantee that you can get online with that second VPN. Normally these problems go away after a few days. In this case it was a week, because the Chinese government doesn't want to make it too difficult to use a VPN, as we will see.
Okay, so VPN is a solution, and so you said the government would look into this, and also you need to have that before you go to China. So is this an illegal thing?
Well, the law is a bit ambiguous here. To be exact, VPNs are not allowed unless you're using a Chinese government VPN. But that's basically the law. What is very strictly punished in China is if you're a company and you're offering people unlicensed VPNs. So there have been cases of like young entrepreneurs that wanted to make an extra buck, and they offered a VPN service and they got arrested and had to spend some time in jail. But for most Chinese people, there's not so many Chinese people that use VPNs, but if they do, it's most of the time not a problem, it's not allowed, but the cases where Chinese citizens have been punished for using VPNs is very small. And it's my expectation that probably these people that were punished had other stuff that the government was not happy with, and they just used the VPN as something they could punish these people for. But for foreigners, I've not heard of any case where a foreigner has been punished for using a VPN. And I think that the government also doesn't want to make it too difficult on foreigners, because if you as a tourist would not be allowed to go on Facebook and Instagram, etc., then they might scare people away. And also the expats that are living in China, they also want to have a way to go and use their own social media and other websites. So it's not too difficult. So don't worry about installing and using a VPN on your telephone, unless you have other shady business, which you shouldn't be doing anyway.
So in one sentence, we would say that non-Chinese people that use VPN, you are safe.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so nice.
So that's basically what we wanted to share with you in this lesson about how do you get online. We hope you find it useful, and we'll see you again for the next lesson later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you.